Hello and welcome to another episode of the Lowdown this lockdown. Now, I think this is the moment we have all been waiting for. I am thrilled to be joined by Dhesi today. So please, Dhesi, if you wouldn't mind introducing yourself and telling us a little bit more about who you are, what you do, and how long you've been at the college.
Wow, Liv, I don't know if I can live up to that build-up. So I'm Dhesi, and Dhesi's my surname. My full name is Jasbir Dhesi, but actually if you ask for me by my first name, very few people will probably know who you're asking for. So I'm known as Dhesi, and I'm the principal and CEO, chief exec of Cheshire College. And I've been in this role for about 8 years now.
Fab. And what does a typical day in the life look like for you during lockdown?
Well, I think what I would say is I've tried to stick to some kind of routine, and that's just what suits me. The reality is that I've pretty much been in most of the time, and that's through choice. And also, we've been open as a college pretty much from day one, catering for learners whose parents are key workers, or learners who the government's classification has been vulnerable. So we've been pretty much open. So I've been in pretty much all the time, and it's been busy. We just have as many meetings, but they're all either virtual or socially distanced. But I have to say it's been busy, but it's been a very different kind of busy. You do find, if you're not careful, that you're spending a lot of time doing what I'm doing now, which is talking to a TV screen or a PC screen. So it has been incredibly busy. What I would also say is that from day one, we set up what we called our working group, which had representation from across the college. Because the challenge for us as a college is the huge amount of guidance that we get issued on a daily basis, and sometimes contradictory guidance. And what we've been able to do is pool expertise from across the college, which has included our colleagues within the unions, to see how we are best responding to that constant guidance that's been updated. We are all living in incredibly challenging times, but what has been really good has been this working group and how they've interpreted the, as I said, plethora of guidance, but in terms of how we've been able to then roll that out. And that's from things like the thermal imaging cameras that we introduced way back, seems a very long time now, back in the summer, through to the one-way systems, through to the masks, which we introduced in communal areas way before it became compulsory, because that working group and the expertise in that working group actually worked through the implications of it and actually introduced things very early on. And so that's been really key. But in terms of my day, it's about listening to feedback from the working group, but also responding to having lots of meetings. We've still got a college to run, even though the students are not here, but we are doing a lot. And at the moment, the next big challenge for us will be when we'll be partially reopening at some time, hopefully soon, and testing. And colleagues across the college have been preparing for testing since the beginning of January. And I think I was trying to work out, I've probably been tested 10 times personally so far, but all the leadership team has been trained in how to carry out testing. But we will be looking for more volunteers, because we're looking at 600 staff and thousands and thousands of students who are going to be need testing. So those are the kind of things we deal with in addition to normal things. But all of that is happening either virtually or remotely, to be honest. But I've tried to stick to a routine, try to be in for 7:30, 8:15, and leave in normal time.
Yeah, oh fab. And how do you think, you've touched upon it slightly, but how do you think the college has adapted to that virtual learning model over the last several months?
I think very well under the circumstances, because it's interesting you say virtual learning. It's actually virtual learning, but also virtual remote working for everybody as well, because it's not only our teaching and learning that's happening remotely, but actually all our support functions, whether that's HR, finance, marketing, all of which are predominantly working remotely. So it's been a change for everybody across the college. I think under the circumstances, we have adapted very well. And I would actually describe the last 12 months as 3 distinct phases. The first one being lockdown 1, when we started to get an inclination quite early on in March that something was going to happen. So we were fortunate, and colleagues across the college started to prepare for remote working and distant online learning, really. And it looks rather naive now, but thinking back, we were saying to colleagues and we were advising colleagues to prepare for 2 weeks worth in advance. So here we are, almost 12 months on, and we're still remote working. The second phase, I would say, was really around September time, where we were open, but we were open in a controlled way, and that what I would describe as blended approach to working and learning, as opposed to lockdown 1, which was completely remote. And that had its challenges because the messaging and the communication was far simpler, and I wouldn't certainly for 1 minute suggest it was ideal in terms of the way we had to operate in lockdown 1, but the message was very simple from the government: stay at home, protect the NHS, save lives. So the messaging was very simple for us, is that everything is remote. But when we opened up in September, it was far more challenging because we had to have that combination of blended learning and remote learning. And it reflected the national picture where there was uncertainties. There was certain aspects of our society, when you watched the news at that time, felt that we should be fully open, and other parts of our society who felt that we should be completely shut, and that was very much what we were dealing with as well. But I think we managed it as best we could, and I was really, really keen for us to open the best we could, because if you thought particularly about some of the learners who were joining us from year 11, that's the previous year in schools, some of them had been out of education for 6 months, and it's really important that we brought our new learners in, got engagement, particularly with other learners, that social aspect. So it was disappointing, but fully understandable when we went down into lockdown again in January. It is what has to be done for the greater good in terms of and you can see the impact of that now in the daily statistics that we look at. But it's been challenging, but we've adapted well. But I have to say that it is down to lots and lots of people. It's down to the colleagues across the college. It's down to our learners. You know, that it never ceases to surprise me, the resilience our learners and our colleagues have shown across the college. But, you know, two groups that sometimes get missed in this is our employers, because what we pride ourselves in our courses is the links that we have with employers to make them as relevant as possible. How they've adapted has been amazing, you know. So some of the projects that we're now doing through augmented reality or virtual reality or artificial intelligence that were it's just really inspirational. But the amount of Zoom and team sessions that are happening where employers are coming in, still doing their talks that they would have done face to face, and keeping learners inspired is great as well. So it's lots of different groups doing lots of different things, but the spirit and that can-do attitude of colleagues has been amazing. Would I say that everything is constantly perfect? No, because that's the environment that we're working in. Each week it gets better and better, and I'm proud to be the principal of a college where we've had to adapt, and we are adapting where we're doing.
Oh, fab. And is there anything in particular that you're looking forward to when the college reopens?
The buzz. The buzz. As I've said before, I come in every day, and you know, we are very fortunate to have 3 amazingly inspirational environments working environments. It's, you know, that you just pulling up into the driveway of like 3 campuses and just seeing those amazing buildings. But imagine now, pretty much the vast majority of the last 12 months being in these amazing buildings, and as inspirational as they are, they're nothing without the staff, our colleagues and the learners, and the buzz and the dynamism that creates within the building that's missing. That's what I'm looking forward to having back, really. It's just that, as I keep saying, I think the reason I'm hesitating then, buzz doesn't do it justice. It's just the excitement and the passion that's normally within our campuses isn't visible. Just seeing people, that social interaction,
yeah.
You know, that's what I'm looking forward to.
Of course, I know I've been lucky enough to visit campus 1 or 2 times, and it's eerily quiet during lockdown. Is there anything that you think you've learned during lockdown 1, 2 or 3 that will stick with you for life?
I think learned might be a wrong word, but I think what I might say is that what it's reminded me of, right, is what this experience has reminded me of is that you know, human spirit and the community spirit that's been generated for the last 12 months, and what we can achieve either as a nation in terms of the vaccines and the rollout and how people responded to the NHS and the key workers, but also as a college. You know, that community spirit that's been generated, and the many, many stories that, you know, I hear about and speak to colleagues and learners about, that what they're doing that's way above and beyond. That is something that's that will stick with me, is just a reminder of what we can achieve as a collective by pulling together in the same direction. So it's not so much a lesson, but it's a timely reminder.
Yeah. Oh, wow. And have you got any nuggets of wisdom for our current learners that can help them carry on during this difficult time?
I think something I quite often say is that we are who we are as a consequence of the genes that we've inherited from our relatives and our parents, but also the experiences that we go through. And this worldwide pandemic is something, well, almost 100 years since we had the last pandemic. You know, there'll be decades back to another significant major event like this that's had a worldwide impact. And it is that it will shape us all, whatever age that we're in. And I think what I would say is that you know, the way students, we've all adapted, is something that should stick with us. That's the experience of it, something we've gone through that actually we've got to turn every negative into a positive. And I think it's that ability that how the nation, how individuals, how students, how our colleagues have all adapted. I think that's a lesson, and because it's part of our experience, that's what's going to build on us and help us become who we continue to help us grow. So I would say something along those lines is that it's that importance of resilience, that importance of building resilience. If we can go through what we've gone through and come out the other end, okay, that's going to be amazing. So what I would say for our learners in particular is, as a consequence of this, have the confidence to go out there and shape the world. Everything is possible if we put our minds to it, and and we always say that about ourselves. If you're determined to do something, it's possible to do it. But actually, if there's a whole group of people determined to do it, and in particular the generation that have had to struggle with the pandemic in terms of their learning, we've got to flip that into a positive. That experience is something that's going to shape us, particularly around resilience, and have the confidence that actually we can change things. And that'd be the kind of message I give on that one.
And like you've mentioned, lots of year 11s and learners across the UK have missed out on a significant amount of education, or have had to adapt to completely new models of delivery. Is there any top tips for those who are currently exploring their options for their next steps? Is there a particular reason why they should choose Cheshire College as a place to study?
Okay, well, the first thing I'd say, if you do know what you want to do and you've got a clear direction, brilliant. Okay, that's great, and we're here to support you. But what I would like to stress is, it's not unusual to not have that clarity of direction, or you know, it's actually more unusual to be uncertain and be unsure as to, should I be doing this or should I be doing that? That's normal, don't worry. Okay, what I would say is, reach out to us. You know, I've got lots and lots of colleagues at the college whose sole job and responsibility is to help you out, to give you advice, and the most important thing is listen in the first instance. Listen to you, and based on that, give you advice in terms of the direction of travel that you should do, in terms of, well, you know, based on what they're hearing, they can advise you based on many, many years of experience, and also speaking to many students. So the strongest advice I can give is reach out. You know, we may not be here face to face, but we're here to speak to you. We're here to speak to you online or by phone or any other method of social media that you might want to choose. You're not alone, and don't worry if you're uncertain. We're here to support you. Now, why would I say Cheshire College? Well, it's an amazing place, and you'd expect me to say that, you know, but what I will say is that as a college, we are experts in terms of helping people to progress onto either university and employment, but not just progress, but to be a success. That's what we specialise in, and that's what our sole dedication is about. Even during the last 12 months, you know, people focusing on the teaching and learning, but actually all our support functions, whether that's been about futures planning for university or employment, that has all continued online. That one-to-one support the learners receive if they were in college has continued online. So it's coming to our college is not just about doing a course to gain your skills. It's also about building that confidence, and it's an amazing stepping stone for university and employment. It's an exciting place. So come along, be part of the community that shapes the college and makes us what we are. And it really is a fun place to be. It's challenging in terms of we want to get the best out of individuals and make sure they succeed. But the amount of times I hear from learners who've got amazing jobs all around the world and have been through the college, that's the inspiration. And what I would say to those people who are unsure, come and join us, because you'll be one of those in a few years' time messaging us with all the amazing places around the world that you are.
Yeah, it sounds like a no-brainer. Now, last but not least, we're asking everyone this. If you had to sum up your time at Cheshire College in 3 words, what would they be?
Well, that's quite simple, because we have 3 words that we use as a college to sum our college up, right? Which is inspire, believe, and achieve. We're here to inspire people, right? And that is absolutely what we want to do. We believe in people, but we also are determined that they believe in themselves. And the key thing is for them to achieve. That's not just qualifications. They are absolutely the bare minimum, but it's actually achieve in terms of becoming the best they possibly can and continue to be a success when they leave us. So it's inspire, believe, and achieve from me.
Oh, fab. Well, thank you so much for your time today, Dhesi. It is very nearly the end of half term, and we hope that all of our learners have had a very restful break, and we look forward to welcoming you back virtually next week.